Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
In each episode, our special guest brings with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is Jessica Rose, who was one of our guests for our Best of the Decade episode, and now we finally have her on to talk about her own movie that scarred her for life. She's a senior contributor for Nightmare on Film Street, as well as a content contributor for Modern Horrors. She regularly covers the Into the Dark series on Hulu, and it's a treat, so please check that out on Nightmare on Film Street. Welcome back to the show, Jessica.
I'm so glad to be back.
Yay!
So excited that you're here. Yay. So we I think we went over this a little bit in the Best of the Decade episode, but just for people who maybe didn't listen, which they should have, how did you get into writing about horror?
I was stuck at a really bad crossroads. The job that I was at for a really long time, I saw that was going down. I was on the brink of getting a divorce, and I had just moved into my house. I was only married for 4 months, so it was like the worst thing that could happen. And I just always loved horror. And where I live, there's not a whole lot of people like us. Everybody's kind of, I don't want to say typical, but I'm definitely different from everybody around here. And there was there's no outlet to talk about the movies I love except for with my sisters, or I didn't even have Twitter at the time. And if I did, I didn't use it. Mm-hmm. And so I was just looking for stuff like that, and I had listened to a whole bunch of John and Kim. I think they were maybe 4 or 5 of their first episodes, because my coworker and I blew through Last Podcast on the Left, and we needed something else. And so me and her both actually really enjoyed horror movies, and we started listening to John and Kim. And there's that little back and forth on Instagram, because I did have Instagram at the time, and they were looking for writers, and I just I know I messaged John, because I was like, please let me do this. And he sent me something do you have any experience? Could you send us a writing sample? And I know that I sent him something nope, but I have a whole lot of emails in my repertoire that I can send you. I'm pretty good with words. So he gave me a shot, him and Kim both, and I just, it started off, they've come such a long way. All of us really have together, and it's it's just it was just a few little news articles. And I remember my first one was a trailer news piece for The Ritual coming to Netflix. And that was like, I think it took me like a day and a half to write, maybe 2 or 3, because I was like, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to write.
I don't want to fuck this up.
Yeah. I was like, don't fuck this one up. And I, now I do 4 major articles a month, and I used to do the news pieces as well. And it's just, it was so weird at first because there wasn't like a whole bunch, people that knew me were like, oh, that's cool. And then that was it, because they're not into it. And then just to build up in the community, it literally saved my life, because then I started to really go through my divorce. I think I only written like a couple of months with them. And I was like, my job was over that I was working at. I was a franchise consultant. And so I was going to have to look for a new job, look for a new place to live. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And like my life, every single part of my life changed. And I stopped using social media for a little bit just to kind of deal with it. And I remember sitting outside with my mom, and I was like, the one thing I am not stopping is writing, because it's the only thing I enjoy. And I don't know if it's like a higher being, but since then it has taken off. And
that's awesome.
Can't even believe like just the experiences, because then I wasn't even doing interviews at that point. Like, I have a story that connects with my movie today, but I just was like, just some of the experience I've had just even in the last year, if I had given this up when it was just starting, I never would have had them, and I never would have known any of you guys or had our community that just is like just an outlet of like not only just support, but just commonality and like, comfort that I can share these things with, and not just, talk to my friends and force them to listen to me about stuff.
Yeah.
And it really kind of, the funny thing about it is that it helped me learn to look for a significant other that enjoyed the same stuff that I do, because I'd never had that before. It's harder to find, but I did. It was almost like the rules of attraction. My brother-in-law told me to follow that, and now I'm getting married. And
so Nick
loves all the same stuff, and Nick is
cool.
amazing, and he's so cool, and he loves this. He thinks it's so cool.
That's awesome.
That story makes me want to cry. I'm like getting emotional. Talking about it like this just makes me like so appreciative of this community. And like you've said, it's hard to find people in like your real life who always like understand like the importance of writing and how happy it makes you. Like when I try to tell my coworker, like my coworkers are amazing and I love my coworkers, but like they don't understand how much I love to write about movies and how much I love movies, and like my partner does, but like some of my friends don't. And it's just been amazing to make friends online who have the same passions I do, and it really is like life-saving. And Jessica, it's like so amazing to hear your story about Nightmare on Film Street and just how much the community has like lifted you up and empowered you to be the writer you are, because you do such amazing work. Your columns are so fascinating. You're an amazing interviewer. Like, it's just amazing. And like, it hasn't even been like that long, and like you're just so talented, and it's just so wild. And it just, every day I'm in awe of like the people that we know through Twitter and through horror. It's just absolutely like phenomenal.
It's gonna make me cry now. like don't cry.
Surprise everybody, you're gonna cry listening to this episode.
I might, but it's so true. Kim and John were one of the first people that I texted after Nick asked me to marry him, because that was one of the things that I always kept in mind. I was like, I never would have thought to look for somebody that likes the same stuff. Everyone that I've been with before, no matter what, like whether it was a long relationship or a short relationship, never had the same interest. And it sounds stupid to like, you don't look for somebody who loves horror movies, but you look for somebody who appreciates the fact that you have a passion, or that and wants to hear what you have to say about them. And it helped out. They were like the first thing I thought about, because I was like, when you think things were so bad before and it's the end of the world, and it's not. And I found more comfort in other people than even trying to find another person to be with, like in a relationship with. I was just like, oh, I've got these people online and I love them and they're cool. I would never in a million years think that I would be somebody that would have as much interaction online as I do now, ever. So it's really cool. And look, and now we're getting to do this cool shit.
I know. Oh, wow.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. All you guys are off.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, everybody that interacts is cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Where do we go from there? Should we get there now?
I know. I'm kind of like, wow. That's it, guys. Have a good night. No.
Yeah.
So I kind of talked about this a little bit last episode, but I know you cover the Into the Dark series, and I finally saw Midnight Kiss.
Oh, isn't it good?
It was so good.
It's good. It was really. And I wanted to say this on the last one, but I know that you had seen it, and I don't think it was out yet. But
no,
it's really, really sexy for Into the Dark.
Yeah, it is.
And I know that it's on Hulu, so I wasn't expecting it to not be, but I was not expecting it to be. Right. I loved it, and I got to speak a little bit about that with Augustus Prue, who was phenomenal to interview. What a sweet guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, super, super sweet. And I was just like, there's a lot of nudity in this.
There really was.
I liked it, though. I liked that they went for it, because it was, and like looking back on it, it's not as much nudity as they show with straight couples in horror movies.
It's not.
It really isn't.
It's still unapologetically queer, and I loved it. Yep. I love that.
I'm so glad that you loved it, because I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that it was one of the stories.
Yeah, me too. But that kind of like transitions to what has everyone been watching recently?
So I started watching The Witcher.
Oh, yes.
The Netflix series, which I haven't finished, and like I liked the first episode, and so my partner had played the video game, so I got the video game on my Switch, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and I've been playing that a bunch.
Okay.
And it's not a horror game but it's got some amazing monster design.
Oh, yeah.
I just fought. Have you guys played it before?
I have, yes.
So I just did a side quest with the Noon Wraith, I think it was.
Oh, yes.
The Noon Wraith, and the design is like she's got this super long tongue, and it's like a skeleton ghost, and it's such an amazing. I love games like that, like with like a lot of lore and a lot of creatures, and so I've been digging into that.
You're gonna love that game then.
I know, because Steve played it, and I loved watching him play, and I finally was like, fuck it, I need to play this for myself and like dig into the world. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's not, the graphics aren't as good on the Switch, but like, yeah, which is fine. But I'm having a really good time with it, and like the lore building and the world building is so good, and that's what I've been kind of digging into.
Do you like the show?
I haven't watched any more yet. I liked the first episode, and I think it's helped. I haven't read the books, and I want to read the books now, but I think it helped that I had a little bit of background from the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things I've heard about the show, it seems like it's hard to go into that show without any context and like kind of idea about like what a Witcher. Like I don't know how I could do that shit, watch that show without knowing anything about it, because it's a lot of lore. And like, so I just watched, this kind of reminds me, I just watched Dune for the first time this weekend.
Oh yeah, I saw your tweets about that.
Which is like
David Lynch, right?
Yes, it's a terrible movie, but it's because they tried to pack too much lore into one thing. And this is a problem that I feel like a lot of sci-fi fantasy things have, like problems they have, is there's just a lot of these fantasy novels and sci-fi novels are like these huge tomes, like a huge series full of like world building and lore, and it's just so difficult to compact that. And I mean, The Witcher's a show, but I know it's only six episodes.
I think it might be 8.
8?
But
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very.
It's just like so much information. Like in Dune, they just tried to put so much information into a 2-hour movie, and it's just, I don't know. This is why, like, maybe guys, we just need to like stop adaptation. It might just be time.
I think the problem for I haven't watched all of The Witcher yet. I think I'm on episode 5, and I kind of stopped. I probably will go back to it, but I think the problem with it is that they adapted the short stories that he did, because he has a couple novels, but he kind of started out writing about it like the guy that did Conan. Howard, I can't remember what his name is, but where he wrote for magazines and wrote a bunch of short stories, and then it kind of progressed into this novel. So, like, they're adapting these short stories that are just meant to be, like, a story, you know what I mean? And they're trying to turn it into a connective story, whereas, like, in the books, these particular stories they're doing are just an offset, just a story here, a story there. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're trying to give it connective tissue, and I feel I feel like without knowing either the books or the games, a lot of people are gonna be like, what the hell? And you don't know this in the first episode, but they play a lot with time, but they don't really tell you that they're playing with time.
Yeah, that's what I heard, is like a lot of the time jumping is like not really contextualized or marked in any like significant way.
Well, each of the stories that they're talking about in episode 1 aren't happening at the same time.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. I was like, this, because I know the game, like the little girl Siri. Mm-hmm. I was like, wait a second. What the shit is happening? So, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better in terms of, like, maybe I'm nuts, but okay.
But they don't really tell you that, and they just sort of, like, by episode 4, I think it becomes a little bit clearer, but it's just, I don't think it's done very well. And I think it would have been better if they had just adapted one of the novels and not these little individual stories and made it kind of like a Monster of the Week type thing. But that's just my personal opinion. I love the game, though.
So, Terry, what have you been watching, /playing, /reading?
Well, this is coming out on the 13th, and so the embargo is up. I have started watching The Outsider.
Oh my goodness. I messaged you about this.
Yeah, the HBO adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Have either of you read the book?
I have not read the book.
Okay. I actually haven't either. It's here, but I haven't read it yet.
I absolutely love half of the book.
That seems to be
that's a Stephen King thing.
I was just going to say that seems to be pretty like par for the course for Stephen King books.
Like I'm what he calls a constant reader, so I've been reading his books since I discovered him in like I think it was 6th grade with Eyes of the Dragon.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. So he's been like. He's my comfort food. I read him all the time. I've read every book that comes out with him, and even the ones that like. There's a couple of duds that I couldn't finish, like Tommy Knockers. I could not get into that one. But like, I think the first half of The Outsider is probably his best writing.
Oh, really?
Because it's framed as like a police procedural where this guy whose name is Terry, god damn it, why is all the people it's one of those things where it's like I never hear my name, and then all of a sudden like it's so jarring when I hear a character called Terry. And he is arrested for the very violent and very sexual murder of this kid.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they have fingerprints, they have DNA, they have eyewitness reports of him picking up the kid, of him in this white van, of him leaving the forest, of him covered in blood. Like, they have this airtight case against him. So they arrest him. And then it turns out that he says that he was in this other city at the time of this murder. And there's video evidence of him at this other place in the city where it's like miles away, and there's no way he could have been in two places at the same time.
Oh, shit.
And so they're trying to figure out what is going on and how it could be that he has done this and be in this other place at the same time.
Okay.
And it kind of goes from there. And the first half is very well paced. It's very, very exciting and very interesting. It flows really well. And then the back half kind of felt a little repetitious in parts. Like they kept a lot of explaining and re-explaining. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to handle the show. But the first 2 episodes I've seen that have just premiered are really, really good.
Okay.
It's definitely sped up from the book, so I'm really curious to see where they're going to go from here for another 8 episodes. But it's so well acted, it's so well directed, it has a bunch of really great character actors in it. So I think if you have HBO, you should be, and you're a fan of this show, you should be watching this for sure, because it's definitely going to tickle that horror vibe.
Cool.
I might actually watch that before I read it.
Yeah, I think I would recommend doing that.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Cool.
excited.
Because it's one of those things where I think that the back half of the book would be better as a visual thing than reading about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay.
But I am curious how they're going to do it, because the second episode is basically the first third of the book. Like by episode 2, they've already done the first third of the book. So I'm really curious how they're going to continue the momentum that they have going. But I think it'll be good. I think it's going to be a good show. It's directed by Jason Bateman.
It's directed by Jason Bateman too?
Yeah, the first 2 episodes are, at least.
No way!
Yeah. And it's created by, I can't remember what his name is. I think his last name is Price, and he's the guy that did The Night Of, that HBO show. Did you guys, ever see that? The procedural about the kid that is found in someone's murdered house, and they have him, like, dead to rights pretty much there. So I'm real curious to see where they're going to go with it, but it's a lot of fun so far. I mean, it's very dark, very somber, but yeah,
cool. Because I saw I saw Knives Out yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I guess I should. Yeah, I like that. I'd seen it at TIFF, but Steve wanted to see it, so we saw it, and the commercial played before it. And I texted you, Terry. I was like, "Have you watched this yet?"
Oh,
because. I'm like, the preview looks amazing, and Ben Mendelsohn is in it, and Jason Bateman, and I'm like, I love both of them, so I am very
Mendelsohn's
excited.
playing a good guy.
Oh my goodness, weird.
Which is kind of odd for him.
So, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
Me too.
What about you, Jessica? What are you watching?
Saw Climax for the first time.
Oh, I really want to see it.
Weekend.
I haven't seen it yet.
Did you like it?
I did.
So
Yeah.
I usually don't like Gaspar Noé, but I've heard so many good things about Climax, and I feel like I need to see it now.
He's usually give or take for me too. I get it, but I'm also like, it's his movies always go out the, like, I don't want to say the bottom of my list, but there's others that I want to get to because I do enjoy like a standard narrative, but. Ooh, it was a good watch. It's I felt like I worked out the entire time that I watched it. And I definitely didn't, but it just felt like, I don't want to say like I felt like anxious watching it, because I did, but it was like a different kind of like, I got sucked into it, and there's so much going on. There's so much energy from start to finish, and I've never seen anything really like it. It's definitely different. I recommend it. It also is super sexy as hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those that I really wanted to watch before we did our best of the year list, and I just did not get around to it because I've heard such mixed reactions to it, which I guess is pretty much par for the course for Gaspar, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He does.
I watched that.
Wild shit.
And then I did a flip, and I did kind of like the opposite, and I watched One Cut of the Dead because I had not sat through it all the way. I started it when it came out on Shudder, and I didn't finish it because I don't know what the fuck was distracting me, but I couldn't watch it, and I had gotten to the part where I knew what was going on, but then I didn't really finish it, and I was like, nope, this is one of those movies I gotta sit and watch by myself, and I'm so glad that I did, because what a fun movie.
Right?
So fun. And I'm not really a big zombie person either. I can give or take, but like the last like Train to Busan blew me away. I know that we had talked about that, but then like this one, does The Wailing count as like a zombie movie? No,
I don't count it as I consider it a possession. I consider it a possession movie.
Possession.
But I see what you mean.
Yeah, I know I watched Train to Busan and The Wailing back to back, and I was like, oh wow, I love zombies now, and I love the undead, and it goes away from me for a little bit, and then this one kind of like rejuvenated it for me. Oh, aside from that and Little Monsters. That was a lot of fun.
I still haven't
seen
Little
Monsters. Maybe I do
but
like zombie movies a lot more than I thought I did.
I think you like original zombie movies that aren't the same plot over and over again. No offense to any zombie filmmakers, it's just really hard to make. I feel like it's so hard to make that like unique now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's forced. I think we're going to probably get a little bit more interesting, I'm hoping, zombie movies in the same vein as the three that you just mentioned, because I think that like once you've kind of reached the end of the bucket, if you're still going to make them, you have to say something interesting, otherwise no one's going to go watch it. So I'm hoping that that's kind of what we'll start to get a little bit more of if they're going to continue with the trend. But I'm glad you saw it. Wasn't it like such a great ode to indie filmmaking?
I just was like, this is so great. And I remember reading some of the comments on Shudder, which I rarely do. I never read like the reviews. And I remember reading a couple of them and I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Let me just enjoy this, because it was so cool. And it like, I felt like I was part of that crew when I was watching it. I was like,
right.
Talk about like point of view and like putting the audience in the perspective of who's there and participating. It even just like the characters, like they had a couple of the girls that were going around like with the blood and everything. I was like, that's like, it's so real. That's what it's like. So if I didn't know what it was like to make a movie before, I imagine it would be something like that. And what a bunch of fun.
The joys and the hell and the everything,
and like the joy of like actually doing it.
Yeah, finishing it. I loved it. I loved it from start to finish. So much fun.
It actually got me a little teary-eyed at the end.
Right?
Me too.
It's like surprisingly emotional. I was like,
they finished it.
I know. Like, and my feelings watching this movie that I like supposed to be like kind of a comedy.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about what we're watching now, what we watched like now, but let's go back to the past and talk about the movie you've brought today. I'm so excited. Jessica, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park.
I cannot wait.
Bastard.
So before we get into the discussion and why you are so scared of Jurassic Park, we'll read a quick synopsis for those of you who are not familiar with the film. And if you are not, please watch it ASAP. It is a masterpiece. In Steven Spielberg's massive blockbuster, paleontologist Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, and Ellie Sattler, played by the ridiculously hot and amazing Laura Dern,
yes,
and mathematician Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum, are among a select group chosen to tour an island theme park populated by dinosaurs created from prehistoric DNA. While the park's mastermind, billionaire John Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough, assures everyone that the facility is safe, they find out otherwise when various ferocious predators break free and go on the hunt. All right, Jessica, tell us why this movie scares you so much.
It's sending me into cardiac arrest. Just thinking about it. I just want everyone to know I have no fucking explanation for this. If it discredits me and every horror movie I've ever seen, so be it. I can't help it. And you know what? When we were talking about doing this, I asked my mom, I was like, I was 3 years old when it came out. I know I didn't see it at that point. Or maybe I did. I do not remember ever seeing it. But I can remember every single minute of the movie in my mind. So it means that I did see it. And I was like, was I, like, traumatized as a child? Like, did something horrible happen to me that I just, like, suppress these memories in my head? Like, do I have, like, what happened when I saw this movie, Mom? Explain it. Because you had to be around for this. And she was like, I'm pretty sure that you saw Halloween before you saw this movie, but it had to be when I was a lot younger, because I do remember she had to put the VHS tapes in the laundry room. She had to hide them. I couldn't even look at the cover.
Oh, wow.
That's how.
God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can remember having nightmares of dinosaur faces in my window. And then it went away for a little bit because there wasn't any, like, animatronic dinosaur movies too far along after that I know of, that I didn't see them. Because I just could not, I can't stand the sight of them.
And then I kept
dinosaurs,
teasing you because
like,
I
at
wanted
all.
you to watch Tammy and the T-Rex.
Which
and you
I
wouldn't,
did
and you can't watch
do.
Tammy and the T-Rex. You watched it?
I only made it about 30 minutes in, so I can include it on that list, which was the monsters we love, I think. Something like that. Because I was like, this is ridiculous. And there's been so many instances that I just want to share with you where I tried to face this, especially as I got more into horror, that I was like, this is so ridiculous. Like,
So is it dinosaurs or is it the animatronics?
okay, so I'm a very particular, there's a term for it, because there's dinophobia, but then there's ornithocetophobia, and that's like a more specific phobia, I guess, of dinosaurs. But I go even deeper than that, because this is how sick I am. I am terrified to the core of animatronic dinosaurs. Like, it sounds so
Really?
stupid. I am terrified of Jurassic Park specific dinosaurs.
Really?
the realest that they
You
get.
can't go on the Jurassic Park ride like at Universal Studios. Like, would you
Nick-
shit your pants?
Okay, so we went to Universal Studios in October. We went for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
So I went for Halloween Horror Nights. That's where Nick and my family, we went. He asked me to propose specifically at Halloween Horror Nights because I love the rush. I love haunted houses. I love, and I want to tell you guys about Creepshow later because it is so directly like related to this horrendously at the moment. But I love practical effects. I love makeup. I if that was something I could have did going back now, which I probably could do in the future, I would love to do like monster makeup. I draw monsters constantly. I like makeup, like make-believe monsters, but I don't like real fucking ones. So Nick took me to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights, and so we went to Universal Studios during the day because Halloween Horror Nights is in the evening.
Right.
And, you know, my sisters had never seen Harry Potter World, and we were having a great time. And let me tell you, that place, the mood and the tone turns on a fucking dime, going from Harry Potter World to Jurassic fuckland over there, because it's so merry and happy and beautiful, and it looks like you're in Hogwarts, and it's breathtaking. And I've been there a couple of times now before, and it still is just, it'll take your breath away. But then you literally, like, the mood changes. Or maybe it's just me in my mind, but you can walk just like 10 feet over the bridge, and then you're in fucking Jurassic Park. And, you know, my sisters, the husband and the one boyfriend wanted to go on the Jurassic Park ride, and I'm like, I can't even stand here. The atmosphere has changed. I'm shaking now just thinking of it. Like, my hands are like clamming up, they're trembling. And, you know, Nick is awesome.
What happened to you?
I don't know. I'm afraid. I want to go get, like, what do they call it? Like, hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy.
But then I'm afraid of what I'll find out. So maybe I should just leave it dormant. I'm afraid it'll, like, unlock some horrible secret that I just literally have no memory of, and then I'm afraid it'll ruin horror for me, like, in general. So
you're just
you know, like how Freddie
one.
Mercury never wanted to fix his teeth because he was afraid it would mess up with his voice.
Yeah,
that's
right.
that's what I'm keeping at here.
So I take it you didn't go on that ride.
I did not. I had
It's such a good
one
ride.
cigarette that I packed because I knew I was not going on this ride, and so
you even prepared for it with a cigarette.
It's so true. I swear to God.
I am
Poor
obsessed
Nick.
with you.
And, you know, that was Nick's first time in, like, Disney World and Universal Studios, and that's one of the biggest attractions there. And I was like,
it's so good.
I know it's good. I appreciate Jurassic Park for what it is as much as I can, but I just was like, I feel bad. Do you want to go on it? And he was great. He was like, no, I'll wait with you. They had like an hour and a half wait.
Oh.
And so we sat there, and I'm smoking my cigarette, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, this guy just asked me to marry him. He respects me for being a strong woman. And I'm sitting here, and my fingers are trembling with the cigarette that I can't even put in my mouth because you can hear the sounds. Like, I think that's what also gets me so bad is, like, the roaring and the like thumping. Just, I I've never had a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Or if I have, I just powered through them. But that is as close as I could get to what actually came as what a real anxiety attack was on the set of Creepshow.
Wow.
Yeah, so holy shit.
I hate it. I hate them. I can't even look at them. Even just like doing a little bit of the research that I was like, I've never really tapped into what is it called and all that. And then just seeing some of the things, like I can't even see the pictures of them online. I hate them. I hate looking at them.
That's kind of like my reaction to spiders. Like I can't even look at a picture of them. A picture of spiders, it doesn't matter if it's like on my screen and it's just like a snapshot of a spider. I can't look at it. It terrifies me to the core. So I can relate, even though
it's weird.
I mean, you said it, not me. But yeah, no, I mean, even though it seems like such a ridiculously narrow-focused fear, I can completely relate to that. But I have to ask, I don't know if this was popular outside of like, but I remember going to school and the museums would get this touring animatronic dinosaur show. Did you ever have to go to those?
God, that sounds so awful.
So they would have like these dinosaurs, and they would set up like an area in like the children's zoo or like a regular, or not a zoo, like children's museum or like a regular museum, and it would be like an animatronic T-Rex, and there'd be like an animatronic like Brachiosaurus or whatever they're called, and like there'd be all and I remember the Stegosaurus, and they would just basically like stand there and then move their tails or move their head and that kind of stuff, and you would go look at them. And
no,
I kept thinking about that when I was watching this. Like, man, I know that Jessica does not like animatronics. I wonder if she ever had to do that.
No, and if there was a trip to the museum, I stayed at home. Because I don't even like to look at the dead ones. I don't want to see them.
You can't even go like to a museum and like see like the dead dinosaur bones?
I've been to a museum. I do not go anywhere near. I'm even like terrified. Not terrified. That's such a strong word. I even get a little anxious going to the aquarium because they reference like just parts of like the prehistoric time that I'm just like, if I see one of these things, I'm gonna fucking flip out. Like, I don't want to see them, so I get like just a little anxious. I can deal with it like a human being, but I like a roaming animatronic dinosaur show is probably like the second coming of hell to me. Like that would be like the book of Revelations popping open before me, because I would not be able to take that. I couldn't even drink Diet Coke when the new Jurassic Parks came out because they printed the little fucking dinosaurs on them, and I just was like, oh great, can't drink those. And do you know how hard it was to find regular, normal Coke cans in that period of time? I would have to go looking for them. I used to buy the bottles instead because I'm an avid Diet Coke drinker, and I would just buy the bottles because I didn't want to see their stupid dinosaur faces on my Diet Coke. And I can't tell you how many people, like, you know, I get it all the time, so I'm totally used to it, but if they're like, you know they're dead, right? Or they're not coming back, and I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, of course I know I know they're not out there. That's what I think separates me from, like, the real, like, dinophobia, is that I acknowledge that they're not out there. Thank God.
Right.
That's the only thing that's keeping me alive. But, like, I know they're not out there. I know that, again, if there's a higher being, they will not come back in my lifetime. But it's just this, and it is mostly the animatronic, and I think that's because when I saw Jurassic Park, something triggered inside of me, and even now when I see it, like, I've seen clips and stuff of it, but I can't. It has to be like, you know, when I tell people that I'm into horror movies, and they say like, oh, like The Exorcist scared them to death, or anything like Halloween is scary, like Scream, Ghostface is scary to them. Whatever, like, makes people jump, that's what dinosaurs do to me. But I don't jump at, like, Michael Myers, and I don't jump at ghosts and monsters and stuff. It is strictly animatronic dinosaurs. And I know they're done. That's how you know they're done so well in that movie. because I can't look at them. I just, even just like, you know, Everybody likes to play a joke, or, you know, my dad will, if he sees something in the store, he likes to taunt me with it, like, even, like, just, like, little toys or whatever the hell. Halloween is always, like, a really weird time for me because I love going in the Halloween stores, but, you know, there's always that one or two, like, there's, like, those fake, realistic dinosaur faces, and I'm just, like, you know, I just pass by, I'm like, all right, just, you know, that's over there.
You know, like the blow-up T-Rexes that people wear? Do those freak you out?
Just stay away from me. Just stay like 15 to 20 feet away from me, and I'm good. If like somebody in that started coming at me, then I would politely try to just get away.
I'm like trying to think about why it's so scary to you, and like I don't
That's
know.
what I'm trying. I could not figure it out, and I wanted to figure it out for this because there's no fun if you're not like really explaining why you're so terrified.
No, it's still pretty. I think it's still pretty fun.
I'm so glad.
Because this is like the wildest. I think this is the wildest fear we've had.
It has
on
to be
podcast so far. Like I think this is the wildest one, and I love it. It's just it definitely is.
Because everybody else is normal.
Well, I don't know if my fear of spiders is rational.
That's true. I guess it's more like the specificity of Jessica's fear.
Focused.
Your fear of spiders is also hilarious, though, talking about arachnophobia.
Yeah. So when I want to know when you saw this, Mary Beth, but before I have a story about this movie.
Please.
Because it came out in 1993, so I was 12. And I was in that age where it's like you're becoming like a teenager, so you don't want to do stuff with your family. And my dad comes to me and he's like, "Hey, we're going to go see Jurassic Park." And I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's a movie about dinosaurs at a zoo." And I was like, "What? I don't want to go see this." I had no idea what it was. I'm like just imagining like some petting zoo with Barneys, right? And like I'm like, how is this even a movie? It's because it sounded so unassuming. Jurassic Park. Okay, there's dinosaurs at a park. And I remember going to the theater and sitting in this. I'm just like this grumpy preteen, like, ugh, I'm here with my parents. And then the ominous music starts, and I'm like, what? And then the safari-looking dude comes on the screen holding a shotgun, and then the raptor like eats this person. And he goes like flying up the side of the cage. And I'm like, this isn't what I thought it was. And I was like enamored through the rest of the movie. I mean, it scared me in all the right places. But I'll never forget going into it thinking I was going to see like Barney at the zoo.
That's what I wish it was going into it.
I can imagine.
And then it was just straight trauma for like just 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It's pretty intense movie, really. When did you see it, Mary Beth?
So I can't remember because I feel like this movie has been a part of my life, my entire life. I absolutely am obsessed with this movie. I love it deeply. I have a deep I am the opposite of Jessica. I have a deep, deep obsession with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember how old I was. I don't ever remember being freaked out by it. I remember being like in awe of it and wanting so badly to be the girl who got to pet the brontosaurus on the tree and get sneezed on by the brontosaurus. And
God, no.
and it's funny because like this movie spurred me to I wanted to be a paleontologist. I always wanted to there's a museum in a city near my hometown where you could like, go and pretend to dig up dinosaur bones.
Oh yeah.
And then there was this show called Dinotopia, which was a miniseries, and it was based on a series of books where like people and dinosaurs coexisted in this like weird world. And I wanted to be in that world so badly. I wrote dinosaur languages. I I was a fucking dork, but like I had like imaginary dinosaur friends.
Aww.
Like I am
That's
on
really
the literally opposite end of the spectrum for you, Jessica. Like I was obsessed with this movie. Like I wanted to be I wanted to be Ellie Sattler. Like I wanted to be Laura Dern. And this movie was just like such an important movie for me. We had the VHS tape. I wanted to watch it all the time. And like I watched it recently because I had friends in my grad school program who hadn't seen it. And me and my friend Bridget, who is like obsessed with Jurassic Park and loves Laura Dern, we were like, all right, we have to do a screening of this immediately, and we found a place where we could screen it on a big screen, and we made our friends watch it with us. It was just, this movie is so good. I'm so obsessed with it, and I always have been. I don't ever remember being scared by it. I just always remember being in awe of it and wanting so badly to experience it, even though it's horrifying. It didn't scare me. Like, it excited me, which sounds weird, but yeah, that was like my weird childhood experience with Jurassic Park.
And I wish I had that, because I know that it's just like even half of that. I think that's really sweet that you had the dinosaur friends and you made up your own. Like, that's super smart as a child.
It's also
to do.
like kind of weird. Like, it's definitely like kind of weird. I was a weird kid. But, like, I just love playing pretend, and I just wanted so badly to have a dinosaur friend. Like, Brontosaurus are my favorite. And, again, like, that scene where she reaches out to feed it and it sneezes on her, I'm, like, so jealous. Like, and whenever I see that movie, I still get, like, these massive goosebumps when they first get to the island on, like, the helicopter, and the music plays, and the waterfall is happening. Like, I want to cry. It's just so good. And
it is.
And I hear the score and then I cry, but it's for a different reason.
You're like, I need to run, fight or flight mode.
Like you say you're a weird kid, and I'm like the weird kid who was like, I have to stay home from school. They're going to the museum. Like, I can't go to school.
We're kids together. You're scared of the dinosaurs. I want to be the dinosaur. We're weird for two very different reasons.
I think the score by John Williams is probably the best he's ever done, though. Like, I love the score to this movie. I just think it's so good.
I am constantly in awe of composers. Like, I think about this a lot with, like, especially with John Williams and Hans Zimmer. Like, how are you able to capture the vibe of this entire movie about dinosaurs and make something so iconic that, like, gives people goosebumps? Like, it's, I feel like it's like a black magic. I don't understand it. Like, composers are magicians, and
it's auditory. Like, it's complete. Like, they have such an understanding and such a knowledge of like auditory magic. Because look how it can give you goosebumps for one reason. It can give me goosebumps for a completely different reason. That doesn't, and that both of those reasons, like, whatever end of the spectrum you're on, that means it's a great score, because it can it can ignite a feeling.
Exactly, and just like everyone knows that score, like bum 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 bum, and it's just triumphant, and it's like this triumphant.
Don't do it too loud. I'm afraid.
I'm sorry.
It's gonna come out.
But it's just like you feel so triumphant, and you feel so like hell yeah. Well, for me,
yes, no, I understand it. I get it.
But like, it's so wild that he was able to create that feeling with instruments.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know other people play the instruments, but just like the human ability to be able to understand how to arrange compositions is something that has always fascinated me and is like baffling. Like, I don't understand it. It is, like I said, black magic, and it is. I think it is one of his best works.
Yeah.
Like. And,
I mean, he's had a career of iconic songs, but like as I was rewatching this movie, I'm like, man, I was paying attention specifically to the soundtrack watching at this time, and I'm just like, God, it moves, and it like just the opening sound where it's like this crescendo, and then there's like that timpani going dong, like it just gave me goosebumps every single time I've seen it. It's never not like left me in awe.
My other favorite though is looking at like renditions of the song played on a kazoo.
What?
Have you heard this? So I'll send it to you guys. I'll put it in the show notes and I'll send it to you guys on Twitter. But people play it like on a kazoo or like other, like they play it really badly, and it's the funniest shit ever. But just like when the brontosaurus rears up on its legs and gets,
I know,
and like so that's actually really interesting. That is one of the first instances of, like, a CGI creature interacting with a real object. Like
that's fascinating.
It's one of the first times that happened, and that's why that movie was so influential, not just because of how good the CGI was, but in the way that it had this dinosaur interacting with a tree. Like, that's one of the first instances of that happening, and that's why it's such a groundbreaking film.
Well, yeah, and I want to kind of piggyback off that, because how is it that the dinosaurs and the CG and the way this movie looks is a lot more convincing than a lot of CG movies today. How is it that in 1993 they have been able to do something that looks better than a lot of the stuff we see today? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think it's because... Oh, you go, Jessica.
No, you go.
I think we're going to say the same thing. I think it's because it's so novel today. Like, everyone's so used to it, they don't think about it. I think there was so much care and energy put into this, like, groundbreaking film. And today, it's like, I think people get lazy. It's like, oh, yeah, we know how to do it already. It's like, there's no point in putting in that care.
Clean up in post.
Exactly. And I think because, like, Jurassic Park was so new, it was so... They were so careful. And now it's like, I think it's just laziness.
So... this is like super good segue into like the story that I desperately wanted to share with this. So I was invited onto the set of Creepshow. And
cool.
Cool.
So cool.
But I didn't even know what I was getting into when I agreed to go because they were filming in Atlanta. So I skipped a job interview because I was like, I have to go. I have to go do this. Took the day off of work at the current job I was at the time, and I just thought I was going to visit the set. So I thought I was just going to be able to, like, look around. Shutter sent me, I think, an email or two, and then I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Sure, cool. And then I had to work all these things out in the background that I was like, I can't be there tomorrow. I'm sick. And so I drove out there. I was also, like, 15 minutes late because everywhere in Atlanta you're going to be 15 minutes late no matter what you do.
Oh, great.
Right.
And
I was so nervous and excited just to even be there. And the second I get there, the girl who was like the rep, she was like, all right, so you're going to have an hour with Mr. Savini and then you're going to do an hour with Mr. Nicotero. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Like, Tom Savini, I told you how much I love movie monsters. Tom Savini, for me, is probably like a notch below Stephen King. Just, it was such a big deal for me. It would be like meeting one of your heroes. I was just like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Okay. I was unprepared. I had no idea because everything was so under wraps. And I was like, are you guys sure that you got, like, the right person? Like, I'm supposed to be here? Like, I have no idea that this is happening.
Hi, do you know who I am?
I did not let anyone there know it. And then they had a couple of other journalists, but they had, like, you know, someone from Entertainment Weekly. And so I think somebody from, like, one of the big comic like book news people, and then two other people. One of them was Michael Rothman from the Losers Club podcast, and like I think he was as close. I don't even consider myself on the same level as him at all, but he was like the closest that I was like, hey, I know who you are. This is cool. I was so out of my fucking league, and so I'm sitting there. I sat with Tom Savini for an hour and talked to him. I was having like an out-of-body experience that I was just on Creepshow, to like Creepshow. I'm such a big Stephen King person, so this was just like revelatory to me. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sitting with this man that I've idolized, and Greg Nicotero is walking back and forth. Rob Schraub is there. It was and then as they're showing us some of the scenes, so we got to go and sit and watch, and I got to see them shoot a lot of the scenes for the Bad Wolf Down segment. So, kind of relaying back to that, everybody is lazy now with the CG, because when I tell you how many times it took them to shoot that the head decapitation, it was just hours of just straight doing it, but it looked so fucking awesome. And they would shoot it, clean it up, and do it again.
Holy shit.
Oh my god. It was crazy to watch, because after like the first like 10 takes, you're like, dang, this takes a long time. And then like after 20 takes, you're like, holy crap, this is like what they would do to get that perfect shot of it looking real is beyond me. And so while we're talking with Tom Savini, he mentions his episode, and it was an adaptation of a short story by The Silver Water of Lake Champlain by Joe Hill. So I was like, oh yeah, this is fucking great. And I had never read that short story. So when he's telling us, and I'm like, off in dream world, just watching him talk, and he mentions, oh, you'll be able to see the giant animatronic dinosaur. We have it here. And I swear to God, my entire body went like cold and numb. I couldn't feel my lips. My hands were like, and I was like, just act cool. You'll look like the biggest fucking psycho if you don't act cool. And I was like, this is the best day I have ever experienced in my life, and this is the worst thing that could happen to me right now. I'm dying. Was like, oh my God, I don't want to see this thing. I saw everything else. They had the original Fluffy there with the crate. Oh my God.
Wow.
I think I'm still not allowed to share those photos, but I was just like, I was okay. I would have sat there and hugged Fluffy
and pet it, like, just like, hello.
I was like, oh my God. They had the slaughtered lamb from An American Werewolf in London, the sign. They had everything from the original Creep Show on that set. It was so a dream, cool. But I couldn't concentrate because I'm like, where's this fucking dinosaur gonna be at?
You're like, it's putting a mirror around corners, like waiting for it to like pop up behind you.
I was waiting, and it's a movie set, so it's really loud. There's a lot of banging. Yeah. There's a lot of people just building up on sets. And when I say that they do everything there, they did everything there. But every time there was a bang, I just was like on fucking high alert because I was like,
it's the dinosaur.
My God.
It's gonna come to life and it's gonna get me, and now my best day is gonna be ruined by this dinosaur. And thank God they were filming with it. It was just so awful.
Did you see it?
I did see it. I took one picture of it for memory's sake, and it was like being in the room with a real fucking dinosaur just laying there. And thank God, this is terrible because it's such a sweet story, but thank God it was like the dead Champy, because it was curled up in a ball in the middle of the soundstage, and I was like, oh my God, I hate it. And everybody's like looking, people wanted to go up and like touch it, and we watched them move it with the forklift, and I was just like, oh, no, don't touch it. Like, just leave it where it is.
Like, I'm going to run away.
But I'm also like, please act cool. This will never happen again.
Don't fuck it up. You want to be invited back to these things.
I was like, people from Shudder are here. Greg Nicotero is right there. They're talking about placing this monster. Tom Savini is like walking, just like, it was like, I don't know, I've never been on the set of a movie or a movie or a show or anything. So I was like, oh, do they just, not know that I'm here and that I'm freaking out in my head? Or am I looking like they just,
like, don't freak out.
They're just like, oh, excuse me. And I'm like, don't come near me. I can't take this.
I mean, being afraid of it coming alive kind of is a valid fear, because I when I was looking for like trivia and research for Jurassic Park, I did find a quote from Kathleen Kennedy that the T-Rex would sometimes, as she said, go into heebie-jeebies, where like it would be raining and then all of a sudden the T-Rex would come alive.
Oh my fucking God.
And I guess it would malfunction.
We're gonna give Jessica nightmares.
So it would malfunction because of the rain, and they'd be having lunch or whatever, and then the T-Rex would just like start moving.
No. Nope. No.
Oh, so, I mean, my God.
I wouldn't eat for days after that.
Like, nope.
And it's because they're so real looking, and that's why I'm so pro practical effects, because especially after seeing what they do to put in, like, it's amazing what the human hands can do. They build these things and they make them, and they're moving, and they have like emotion, or they have no emotion, which is even scarier. And it's something that was alive and now it's not, and it's just so terrifying. And just seeing that was just, it was so horrifying, and it was really funny seeing like some of the guys that were dressed up as wolves, like they're on stilts and they just take off their head, and then when they put it back on, they are a werewolf again, a breathing werewolf, just standing right there. And it's just beyond me. I'm like, why would you ever want to use anything other than a real person? Although Savini did explain that, you know, that you use a lot of CGI to detract from the body. You don't want to do it to add to the body, because you could always build something up. But he said something like, if I take you and I want to turn you into a zombie and I want you to decay, it's a lot harder to do that with like prosthetics and everything. So CGI is great because you can detract from the body, whereas you want to use practical effects to build up on the body. And I was like, oh, dang. All right, but I still want the practical. I still want it to look as real as possible. And I think that that's probably why I love it so much, is because I hate it so much. I think I'm like cracking down on the psychology behind this, is like, maybe that's like how I learned how to deal with it, is to love it. But that the one instance, Jurassic Park, is what set it off, and I just can't do it. And they just make me nervous. Like, I would have a heart attack if I was sitting there eating my lunch and like the fake dinosaur moved for any reason. Oh.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
All true stories.
Amazing.
I can't. I hope nobody judges me for this.
They better not.
No one better do that. Because this was great.
It's awful. And I still will try. I tried doing Tammy and the T-Rex, Mary Beth, and I understand why people love them. Why wouldn't you? It's the same reason why I love Alien. I love the way Xenomorph looks. I have Xenomorphs in my bedroom, but I could never have a dinosaur anywhere near me here.
So have you seen any of the other ones?
My mother,
Jurassic World,
who probably was the one that traumatized me and isn't fessing up to it. The one thing that she wanted to do for her birthday, I think it was last year when the last one came out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my mother is very selfless. She does not go out for herself. She does not buy for herself. My dad will not go to movies. They'll save money. They're homebodies. But she said for her birthday, what she wanted to go do for her birthday was to go see that new Jurassic Park movie.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you do understand, like, I'm not joking when I talk to you about this. Like, I know it's like funny and everybody can make like little jokes about it, but I was like, I can't sit through this movie. And she did the whole thing where she was like, are you fucking kidding me? You watch Poltergeist to go to sleep. You're going to go see Jurassic Park. Like, that's the one thing I want to do. And I can't. I have horrible guilt, especially when it comes to my mother and my father. So I was like, I'll go see this. Nick came with me. My sisters, their significant others all went. We went, and I literally took my jean jacket and made a tent and sat on my phone underneath it because I could not take it.
Well, I mean, you're not alone in this fear, because we one of the things we did do is we kind of canvassed some readers to see if they had any things that they were terrified with Jurassic Park, and the one in particular that I wanted to share was at the Chunky Ferret is the Twitter handle.
What a great
and
Twitter
they said,
handle.
I know, right? And they said, as a kid, we had a glass kitchen door. Every time I was in there alone, I heard a noise, my head would snap to that door, expecting to see a raptor trying to turn the handle, which is great when you live in a house with cats who like to tap on doors.
Oh no,
that's awful.
Well, Oliver will do that. He was just scratching at the door, but I didn't think raptor. But now I'm gonna.
Oh no!
I usually always have to keep the door open for him because he gets anxious if he can't see me. But for this, I closed the door, but I could hear him scratching, and I was like, stop it. And but now that I think about it, a raptor at the door, I can't.
You're welcome.
Great.
Blame Chunky Ferret, not me.
Thank you, Chunky Ferret, for the nightmare fuel that I did not want.
I will say, those definitely were, like, the raptors are, like, top 10 movie monsters of the universe.
Oh, they're so good.
They're so good. And they're so, like, it's just the intelligence, horrifying.
Yeah, because you don't want them to be smart and know what they're doing.
I know. Like, I feel like a lot of the time with, like, certain, like, in monster movies, you can take some solace in, like, the monster not necessarily being, like, uber intelligent, but nope. Not in Jurassic Park. They smart. Well, at least the raptors are smart. The T-Rex a little bit. But the raptors, Jesus Christ.
That's, like, the nightmares that I can remember is seeing one of them in the window.
Oh, God.
So I think that's so weird that, like, somebody else also had that kind of specific image. I'm not even sure if it's, like, in the movie or not, but just seeing them in the window, that's something I do remember. And I remember I was really small.
Yeah.
And
there was that one moment, like, when they're in the kitchen and you see it, and, like, the round window, like, its little nose pops up and breathes on the window, and that's pretty horrifying.
It really was.
Because you're like, surprise, I'm here.
Yeah, punch it through the window.
This other Twitter user, @GirlsAreWolves, had so many raptor nightmares. And one time, there's a T-Rex nightmare where her head came through my bedroom ceiling, ready to chomp me out of bed.
Holy shit!
So I there's definitely something there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like I think one of the scariest things about it is, like, dinosaurs were real. Like,
right,
these monsters that are in this movie, like, were creatures that roamed the earth. Like, it's not like a werewolf or any other monster we've seen. For the most part, like, dinosaurs are fucking real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and now they kind of still are here. I mean, birds.
Yeah, that's true. And, like, crocodiles look kind of like dinosaurs, and they're goddamn huge.
Yeah, like, scaly. Those, like, I'm fine with everything else. I mean,
really?
I'm even
like,
fine
you can
with
watch
birds.
Like, you can watch Crawl on, like, the alligator. Like, interesting.
Yep. Isn't that weird?
I hate birds. I hate birds with all of my heart.
My mom is not too fond of them either, and I'm like,
fuck birds.
Well, you want to watch Hitchcock, Mom, or you want to see Jurassic Park for your birthday? Which one?
Yeah, fuck birds. They are the devil. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. I hate them so much. Anyway,
I'm glad that other people do have that, and have some of those, like, sticking images in their heads. It just stuck in mine just a little bit harsher than I guess it has for other people. And I do like to see all other movies, but, you know, when there's an occasional, I haven't really faced that except for when we were on the when we went to Universal and we went on the Simpsons ride. There's it's all 3D, and there was a one instance dinosaur in it because it's a super crazy ride, and even that I was like, it happened so quickly because it's like a simulated roller coaster, but I panicked so quickly that it all of a sudden, like, it was over before I knew it, and I was like, oh my god, if I knew that was happening, I would have never went on that.
It's like exposure therapy.
You're facing your fears, but not
very
knowing
quick exposure therapy. Yeah, it's like, surprise, ha!
I didn't have anybody, like, I didn't have, like, the guts to tell anybody that I was afraid of the Simpsons ride after that, and thank God nobody wanted to go on it again. It was great, so much fun, like, but I was like, please,
act normal.
Nobody want to do it.
Act normal.
A lot, like, that happens to me a majority of the time with them, that I'm just like, act normal, it's fine. It's fine. Or when people are like, oh, did you see that? Yeah, it's fine.
Wow. Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you, Jessica, for confronting your fears and talking with us about Jurassic Park. We really appreciate it. Where, again, can our listeners find you? And do you have anything coming up, maybe dinosaur-related or anything?
Nothing dinosaur-related whatsoever, except for, getting this out to as many listeners as possible, because I had such a great time. Thank you guys for having me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Both of them are JJRose7, and JJ is spelled out. It's JAYJAY. And I've got a good couple of fun things coming out for Nightmare on Film Street. I am reviewing Scared Sacred. So that's a book being put out by House of Leaves Publishing.
Oh my gosh, that's coming! Oh, I forgot that was coming out so soon.
February, and
oh my gosh,
I'm a huge book collector. I know I've told you guys that, but It's so delicious. And
I'm so
can't
excited.
wait.
There's so many good people writing for that book, so I'm so pumped to read it.
It's stacked, and it's so interesting because it's all about religion and horror, so it's just so super interesting. And I've got that, and I know that we're doing Black and White Month, which is fun because I'm not as knowledgeable of black and white horror as I thought I was. So just seeing some of the articles that have been put out recently and then kind of doing my own, that was such a cool idea. And I like that because it's kind of a little bit of horror that I haven't really delved into.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that too. I've got a couple things for the same month coming up for Nightmare on Film Street that I'm excited to show. I'm looking at an old Bollywood horror movie and I've never looked at Bollywood before. So I'm really excited to dig into that. So that it'll be really cool. So, yeah.
Cool.
So, listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. What is your experience with Jurassic Park? Are you as scared of the dinosaurs as Jessica, or are you obsessed with them as I was? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or tweet at us at scarredpodcast, and we might feature you in an upcoming episode. You can also reach out to both me and Terry on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gailey Dreadful.
And like I said, follow us at Scarred Podcast if you want to talk about any episode on Twitter.
And this episode comes out the 13th, which is the day before my birthday. So if you want to get me something, please go review, rate, and subscribe, particularly on Apple Podcasts, because that helps us out the most with them. But we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Go do it. So thank you to Steve Barnold for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our badass theme song. And thanks to all of you for listening. We really appreciate it. Stay creepy.
And until next time.
Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.